This conference will now be recorded.
So guys, let's get started. So first thing is that we want to know the basics of Linux right before we get started. Okay. But in order to get into Linux, hello Giridhar, can you see my screen?
Uh, I don't see a screen, Shiva.
You don't see my
Yes, I
screen.
see. I mean,
Who can see my screen? Harish and Giridhar, can you see?
is that a black screen there with some leaves and all?
No. I have this AWS console, login consoles.
No. That is, I don't see this.
Okay. Let me stop. But Harish able to see.
Oh, okay.
If
So do you
one is
want me to
able to
log out and
see,
log back in?
no. Let me stop it. Now tell me what is it UCC DevOps demo?
Yeah, I see DevOps demo. Yeah, I see that.
Okay. Now I am resharing it. You should see my AWS.
Um, um, I don't see it yet.
Okay, do one thing, log off and log in back.
Okay, sure. Just give me a second.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, Shiva. Now I'm able to see.
Okay, good. Okay, guys, so let's get started. So what I was telling is, so initially, in order to work with DevOps and all, you need to know the Linux basics. Okay. But in order to know the Linux basics, I need to show you, you need to have a system, right? In order to execute the commands and all of those things. So what I'm going to do is that first, since we all have our accounts, I'm going to log into my account and I'll provision one server so that we can execute all the Linux commands on top of it. Clear, guys?
Okay.
We use in order to in AWS in order to launch or create our virtual servers, we use a service called EC2. Okay? EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. So this is infrastructure as a service, okay, which will help us in creating our virtual machines. If you can see, I'm in the dashboard now, okay, and I'm in which region, guys? I'm in region called North Virginia. I'm in the North Virginia region. So every time when you log into your account, you should make sure that you are logging into the same account so that you will not be provisioning instances on different regions. Because what happens is that initially when you are learning these things, you might not pay attention to what you are doing. And when you log in, it might take you to a different region here. You can see different regions here. And if two instances are running simultaneously, you will be charged for that, like that. So make sure you're always using the same region every time you log in. Now, from here, if you want to launch an instance, you should click on launch instance. Okay. And you have these many servers here. Like in cloud, we use a concept called templates, guys. Now, what is a template usually? So now, after learning this AWS and DevOps, what will you guys do, guys? You will have to put your resume, right? You will prepare your resume and you'll upload it. But how will you prepare your resume? Are you going to do it right from the scratch? Like take a white blank paper and then write everything, put everything blank blank. Do you think you do that? Or you will take an existing resume from one of your friends which I share with you and you'll slightly modify the content and then you'll deploy it. Which one will you do, guys? Hello?
Uh, Normally, we do it on our own, but even we also take our friends' resume if needed.
Yeah, yeah. So we do it on own, but if you have your friend's
Yeah,
resume, it will give you some idea, right? Like what
yeah,
is this thing, right? So now I call that template as a that resume, your friend resume as a template, which will save so much of time. So every
yeah.
time, whenever you want to install applications, right, it is very like you need to install operating systems, you need to define some settings, right? And you need to configure the configurations, some application settings, some specific packages has to be configured. So instead of doing all of that stuff every day, every time you provision, so we can use a concept called templates in cloud. What happens here is that so Amazon will give you all the basic requirement, whatever is needed for the operating system to run. You don't have to do the installations; they are already there available. Now, if you see here, I have Red Hat operating system, Ubuntu, SUSE, right? My Windows Windows Server, SUSE. All of these are the operating system based on your choice, like your application requirement. You can choose what operating system you want. Okay, but if you see carefully here, we are using free tier account. Got it? So we don't want to get charged unnecessarily while practicing and all. So every time when you provision, pay attention to this. It should show you free type eligible. Only the instances with the tag will be free of cost. See this deep learning AMI. So this doesn't have a free tier eligible tag here. If you launch this, you will be charged, guys. Okay. So or if you don't know what to choose, you can select this option which says free tier only. It will list you only the options which are available for free tier. Now I will go with Amazon Linux. So these are called as AMIs, which stands for Amazon Machine Images. So we call them as a templates. Okay, we call all of this as a templates. Okay, Amazon Machine Image and all. Click select, and we have this instance type. Instance types is like the size, like what size you are using, like what is the size. So whenever you are deploying your applications, you need to have like how many number of CPUs, how much of memory. Okay, you have see two CPUs, 8 GB memory, four CPUs, 32 GB memory, like 348, 384. All of these are the size, guys. So basically, whenever you're deploying your application, team will tell you how much of memory and CPU is what needed. Okay. But now, since we are using free tier eligible, you are allowed to use T2 micro instances. If you launch this, you will not be charged. Free tier eligible, which will have one CPU and 1 GB memory. Now here, how many instances would you like to launch? Like one instance, like network, how many, what network you want to use. Now every instance should have IP address, it should have the connectivity, right? So this we get from the different service. Okay, we'll discuss this later. But for now, let us use all the default settings. I'm using all the default settings, guys. Like I said, This is just for you to understand how to launch instance. The details of these things we'll discuss in detail. Okay, I'm selecting all the default options, and every operating system will have its own space of 8 GB. If you see here, 8 GB is the default space. This is what we call as a root operating system or root drive. Like in Windows, we have C drive. For Linux, we have this root volume. Now I'm going to give the name CentOS, okay, or Amazon Linux, whatever the name. Security group. So now in cloud, there is a inbuilt security feature, guys, which is called a security group. Now launch an instance. Right now, in order to connect to Linux, we use a protocol called SSH. Okay, SSH is a protocol that we use, and the default port is 22. Now, from where would you like to connect to your Linux instance? Now, I am sitting somewhere in Hyderabad, and my instance is running somewhere in North Virginia. So, I am communicating to this instance over internet. So, I'll say that from anywhere. When I say anywhere, people can sit anywhere, like wherever they want, and they can connect to the instance. Review and launch. So whenever you're launching your instance, Amazon gives you some additional level of security, which is nothing but key pairs. Okay. So key pair is nothing but whenever you're trying to connect, there are different types of authentication, guys. Sometimes when you log into your Linux instances or any operating systems, you username and password. That is one type of authentication. But here in the default authentication is key pair authentication. So Amazon will have the public key, we will have the private key, and every time when you launch, they both have to match with each other. Then only the communication will be established. So create a new key pair. I'm going to call it online AWS or online DevOps, and download a key pair, launch instance, new instance. So now I already have a couple of instances running here, guys, and the one which you see that's rotating, right? This is the this thing. Now every instance that we provision will have both IP addresses, public and private. Okay, so we use public IP address to connect. So since this is a Linux instance, we use tool called PuTTY. Okay, PuTTY is a tool which we use it. But before we get there, we need to do some different settings. That is converting the key pair. If you look into this key pair, the key pair is .pem, right? So your PuTTY doesn't support PEM file. Okay, so we will convert this PuTTY into or PEM into PPK. For that, we use a tool called PuTTygen. When we use this PuTTygen, let's say load, downloads, put all files, online DevOps PEM. You can see this. Click open. Now all you have to do is just say private key. Now I am going to convert this PEM fee that I have imported into a public key that I will be converting. We'll call it so we have converted. Now let's use this public IP address, paste it, SSH out, browse, online listings. I'm just changing the font, guys, so that you can view clearly. Now, so since we haven't created this operating system, it's Amazon who has created the operating system. The default username is EC2 user. Now see guys, we have successfully logged into our EC2 instance. Now this is a Linux based operating system which I have provisioned in Amazon in the region called North Virginia. Okay, so this is how organizations create their own instances in their respective regions and they deploy the applications on top of it, guys. So I'll pause here, guys. Any questions? Any questions so far?
Uh, can we do this on Windows? Because mine is a Windows screen. Or should I be using any third party like VMware or something like that?
Come again, Windows in the sense?
Mine is actually a Windows machine. My laptop, I mean, I have Windows on it. So
See,
if I
my
want to
laptop is
install this
also
putty,
Windows. You
okay,
see?
okay. So,
See,
so you have used putty,
yeah, yeah. Yes, I use Putty. So Putty has to be downloaded. I'll send you the links now.
okay.
All you have to do is that download Putty. This is the link. Click here. And here you have all the, see, whatever is that you are, whether 32-bit or 64-bit, from here you can download. Copy.
Okay,
So that's a small application, okay? See
okay.
guys, like you said, right, workstation, VMware and all, we are not doing the installations locally, so we don't need anything. So whenever you are working on cloud environments like AWS, Azure or GCP or any other things, right? All you need to have is the internet connection and the browser, that's it. Everything can be, all the servers provisioning is done on top of AWS infrastructure only,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Yep. Any questions so far? So in the same way, you can also launch Windows instances. Let me show you how to launch a Windows instance. In case if you want, if at all you want to work on Linux or Windows-based environment, say launch instance. It's the same procedure, but you will select Windows operating system here in the list. Like you see, I have server 2019. So I'll go with Windows 2008 R2 guys because we have only 1 GB RAM and 1 GB memory. So if you launch the latest operating system, it will take so much of time. And T2 micro, one operating system and one instance, and I'm using all the default settings. So like I said, we will discuss each and every option in detail. Okay. Now our motto is to just launch instance so that you guys can work whatever the commands that I show you. For Windows, what is the protocol, guys? RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, and the port is 3389, and I want to access it from anywhere. Review, launch, and I'm using the same key pair, which is Online DevOps. So you can use one key for different operating systems. Okay. And it is provisioning now. So how do we connect to Linux Windows instances, guys? For connecting to Windows instance, we have two options. I'll show you. Windows will take some time, guys. Okay. Linux instances provision faster, whereas Windows instances will take some time. Okay, let's wait for it. Minimum 3 minutes to 5 minutes.
Hi Shiva, you there?
Hey, hi. I think yes.
Yeah,
Okay, now this
yeah.
now. So if you click
Okay.
on connect here, guys, you have this option
Mm-hmm.
called download remote desktop file. It is
Mm-hmm.
just nothing but an RDP file. If you click on
Mm-hmm.
that, it will give you this kind of connection. Click connect. So it will give you this like login option. This is one way of doing it. If in case you guys are new to Windows and you don't know how to use it. But the regular way that we connect to Windows instances is we have a inbuilt tool called RDP, that is remote desktop connection. Okay. Now, same way, just like in Windows, for Linux, we selected public IP. Select the public IP for Windows, put it, and click on connect. So the default username is administrator. Since it is a Windows, administrator is a username, and the password. So you have a tricky there. Just not like in Linux, but in Windows, you have some tricky thing where you need to select the Windows operating system first. Click on connect, and you have this thing get password. When you click on get password, it will ask you for the file that you have used to provision it. So you have to choose that file, same file, guys, online DevOps pair. Click open and say decrypt password. Now this is your password. Now select this. Okay, now paste. This will take you inside the operating system. So it will connect to your operating system. Let's give us some time. Sorry guys, I was talking in mute. So this is a Windows operating system. Any questions so far? Hello?
No, Shiva.
Okay. Now you
But
understood the
actually, I was.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll discuss this later. But actually, I was trying to install Putty. So
Mhm.
at the end of the class, we'll discuss this. But we can just continue on this now.
Okay. So guys, this is how we provision our servers, right? Windows or Linux based on the requirement. What I was telling you is, so you don't need to have a high-end laptops, okay, or desktops to work and learn AWS or DevOps, guys. Reason, we are using Amazon infrastructure. Now I think you understood the whole idea of what we are going to do, right? So for everything, now you see Git, I have Git, Docker. I'm going to install such machines here, and we will be working on those machines. Okay, you don't have to install anything locally. You don't get any special install. And coming back to the pricings, now since we are using this Amazon account, are we going to be charged? So no, guys. So when you are using the resources within the limitations, then you will not be charged. As an example, aws.com/free. So these are the services. No, here it is. Like for example, if you see EC2 instances, like we call our virtual machines as a EC2 instances, guys. Now these instances you can run for 750 hours per month. Okay. So every month this number gets renewed. Let's say suppose in the first month, now you guys have created your account now, right? Like 23 or 24th of September. Now you started using it. So when it goes to 1 month, you used around 500 hours of EC2 instances. In the next month, it gets renewed. Again get 750 hours. In the third month, again 750. Like this, throughout 12 months, you will get this 750 hours free of cost. But how are they going to calculate? Now, as an example, I have 4 instances now, right? So when I have 4 instances, it is like 750 by 4. That many hours I can run for free of cost. So 750 is the total number of hours by number of instances. So till that time, I will not be charged even a single rupee for running these instances, guys. Is it clear? So you don't have to worry about this, but make sure you are always launching a T2 micro instance, okay? And you are also launching the templates with free tier eligible. Then you will not be charged, guys. Any questions?
No, no, sure.
Okay. So I'll stop here, guys. You know, too many things for you now to launch instances and connect. So let me know if you have any questions. I can clarify them.
So, Shiva, I'm in this Putty download page, and my OS is like I have i3 processor with 4 GB RAM and some hard disk. So, which one? 64-bit processor. So, which one can I select from? I mean, do we have any
Yeah, we
see a
have here, right?
signature and
64-bit MSI.
okay, okay. So, I can just select that.
Yes, it will download automatically. The moment you select, it will download.
Okay. Okay. So, I can just simply click on next and all, right? I don't did not change any destination folder or
You don't
something
have
like
to. No, no, use all the default settings. That's it.
that. Oh, okay.
So guys, I will stop here. I think you should get this video. You can coordinate with the coordinator and
Okay.
follow the steps, simple steps, okay? So that you will be able to launch instances. So far tomorrow, your task is to just launch one Linux instance and one Windows instance and try to connect to it successfully, okay?
Okay.
And
Okay.
tomorrow we will talk about the Linux. I'll start with the Linux basics, like how to execute commands, what are the commands that we have, what you should know in Linux and all. We'll talk tomorrow,
Sure.
okay?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Shiva.
guys. Have a good day tomorrow.
Sure. Thank you.
Yep. Bye.